Hello everyone and welcome to Journaling Planet. It is me, Helen, and I'm about to embark on a very easy crafting task because it has, well, for a couple of reasons. My husband has just had another chemotherapy treatment, so I'm looking for no pressure today. My nails are as terrible as always. I haven't actually got rid of the residual nail varnish. I've been rather busy looking after him. So we're kind of not going very far this weekend. We never do on chemotherapy weekends. And I just want something that is going to be relaxing and no pressure, but also I need to do something about this. So this is my scraps box, which I try and keep relatively small. I try to keep it within this box, and it is now overflowing. And I know some of you have boxes a lot bigger than this, and it can get a bit annoying when you see this in the background when you're crafting and things, or if there's just scraps all over the place. Sometimes if I'm cutting in different rooms, little piles of scraps will gather around the house, and then I will quickly go around and just throw them all in here and go, yep, tidy. Except now it's not. Now it's overflowing. So I am going to do some micro tags, which I'm sure are not a new invention. It's just a way I can think of using these small scraps. And the way I'm going to do it first, I'm going to show you a few different methods, is I'm going to masterboard on a small canvas. So in this case, a postcard. And I'm not in love with guns. I come from the UK, so we're very keen on guns being, kept under control. And so I don't really want to send out a postcard with a gun on. There's been a lot of problematic headlines around guns recently as I record this, and I'm not ever going to send this out. So I'm going to collage over it and make something arty out of it. I'm sure the man in the photograph is not doing anything untoward, but it just has awful connotations. And then there's this kind of promotional postcard that I got from a cinema. It's been sitting in a drawer for ages. I love cinema, so I wanted to use it for something. But to be honest, I just haven't. So I think the design is lovely, but I'm just going to use it as a masterboard. There comes a point where you just have to admit you're not going to use something in its original form and do something with it. So I'm going to masterboard onto these, and then I'm going to cut them down into really tiny tags, micro tags, one embellishment per, or maybe two max, but one embellishment, probably one focal point per micro tag, and then a little bit of a topper. I'm also going to chop down this stray bit of masterboard that has just been sitting on my desk. For what purpose? I don't know. But I'm going to create right now some little tiny cuts so that they can be micro tags. And that one is small enough, and that one. So there's two there already done. So the reason I'm using a small canvas, why are you using a small canvas, Helen? Well, I'm glad you asked. So when we do masterboarding that's bigger, we tend to use big pieces of paper first and only put on a few scraps, because we're trying to cover a large surface, and it actually would take you forever to masterboard a large surface with tiny scraps. Also, it would end up being really thick because you'd have loads of tiny little scraps all over it. Whereas in this instance, because the canvas is smaller, I will be able to fill the canvas really quickly, and I will be able to do so without making it really, really thick. I would just need so many of these tiny little pieces to cover a normal masterboard, whereas a postcard, this is going to be covered really quickly, and then I can, if I want to add some extra pieces for embellishment, I can do that in the background. And I just think that this works better. Also, if you cover a large piece of paper with tiny scraps, they'll appear on some of the masterboard and then not on others. So this also makes for more uniform micro tags, because the odds are that they'll have most of the designs will be on most of the tags. So there's a few reasons. If you're not going for uniform, it doesn't matter, of course, but I do think that covering a large piece of, say, A3 with these tiny scraps, you would be here all day, wouldn't you? And it's not necessarily the best thing for a nice light project that you're just wanting to do. As a means of relaxing, to be honest, on these kinds of weekends. I know anyone who's been touched, and I'm sorry if you have, by cancer, will relate, but I just want to be in my crafting today, not have to really overthink anything or deal with anything difficult. So the idea is to use as many of these scraps as I can and not generate, crucially, not generate any more scraps. So that's the deal. I want to use as many of these scraps as I can and not generate any new scraps. These have come from all kinds of things, just anything that I've torn off at any point. Map paper, craft paper, book page, I mean, you name it, stationery paper, it's all just in here. But the nice thing about that is that it does make for quite a interesting mix on your masterboard. And I just really wouldn't use these for much other than clusters. And I don't, to be honest, I don't make clusters. I know people are really into their clusters, and that's cool. I don't begrudge anyone being super into their clusters. It's just not something that I've ever really warmed to. I've got a slightly bigger bit to cover that. So I'm much more likely to make something like this where I masterboard. I just want to get rid of as many scraps as possible. But I'll also show you some of the techniques with the micro tags. So what have I been? I've only been doing this a few minutes, and I've already got one done there. And if I wanted to, because this is a little bit see-through, I'm not sure if you can really see it on the video, but it is a little bit see-through, that tea dye paper. I could get rid of a few more scraps out of my box. Oh, you threw yourself into my path. You obviously want to be used, and just add another layer to reinforce it. Yeah, it's the right way around. Okay, and I just try and use the corners and the edges as a guide as much as possible when I'm doing this, to keep things as straight as possible, even though I'm using lots of scraps. But you don't have to do that. You could just stick the scraps on any old how and then trim around the edge of the postcard. I'm just trying to keep things quicker. Now what I have noticed is that I've stuck a lot in one direction, so I'm just going to break it up a little bit with some other pieces in the other direction. And because again it's a small tag, it will not take me long to do that. A small postcard, sorry, it won't take me long to do that. So I'll just break it up a little bit with some going. I seem to have for some reason favoured gluing things down horizontally, which is fine, but I do want to keep things mixed up just a little bit, so I'm going to glue some things down a little bit less regular, and I'm going to do it in the vertical direction. Yes, just to mix it up, just to go crazy. Now at this stage, if you've ever done masterboarding, you know you're often sitting there thinking, God, this ain't looking so hot right now. Don't worry, it will by the time you're finished. By the time you're finished chopping it up, it'll look cool. Oh, it's gone a bit weird. Yeah, it helps if you glue it down, you know, actually straight and flat. Just a little tip there. So I actually really like that as it is. It's plenty mixed up, and now we'll quickly do the other one. And I might speed this up just since you've seen me do it once already. Okay, so again, at this stage, they're going to look fairly plain, and that's what we were expecting. When we chop them down, everything that we've placed will have a bigger emphasis on the micro tag. Just really as I did with this one when I chopped it down, you know, that's really quite a nice combination. And when I put an embellishment on there and a little topper, it's going to make a really cute tag, maybe around the corners. But before I do that, I'm going to hit pause on this video because in my experience, even though I've only used glue stick, it is better to let this dry before you start chopping up masterboard. So I'm going to put some laundry on, I'm going to water the plants in the garden, I'm going to do some recycling, and then I'll be back. Okay, I did do all the things I said I was going to do, my recycling, etc. I even put the dishwasher on, so I'm expecting my Domestic Goddess Award anytime now. But I also did, just before I started rolling the camera, complete one of these little mini tags to give you an idea of some of the things that you can do with them. I just thought now was a good time to do this before you lost faith in these very simplistic masterboards. This was literally sitting in a thrift store, this kind of pearl trim. I think it's just an old broken necklace, and it was sitting in a bag with lots of other trims. I got the whole bag for £1. I did not pay a lot for it, but it's, I think, a nice way of setting off this little micro tag. And in terms of how I connected this at the top, those of you with the sewing machine will be familiar with all the thread you cut off at the ends. Have you been throwing that away? Because you can use it for things like this. I just tied a little section of thread around the pearls at the top to secure them, because when you tie a knot with something like that, it just looks really bulky. So on a small tag, it looks weird. So I just secured it with a little bit of thread. Just literally tied a thread round and then tied a few knots. That was it. This is all stamping and one embellishment that I stamped as well, hand stamped on some paper bag. And it's been inked round and it's got paper bag on the back. And that's it. It's a very cute little tag, and it will definitely look lovely in one of my journals. So that's just an example of the kind of thing you can do no matter how tiny your tag is. I took the liberty of chopping one of these masterboards off screen, and I'm glad I did, because I found out that my trimmer, my cutter, was blunt, and it created this kind of issue at the corner here, so I'll be doing a bit of trimming there, I think. But then I got some tin foil and sharpened my blade, and I'm hoping that that's going to make a difference to the cutting of this. So just to show you, I don't measure it, I just think, oh, you know, around there will do, and I cut it. That's it. And I try to keep it quite small, because these are supposed to be micro tags at the end of the day, so just trying to keep it quite small. But they're all uneven sizes because I don't measure these. Just cut them into strips. Try and get a little bit of interesting motifs on both sides of the cut. Okay, so I may yet cut these down again to make some tinier tags, because they are supposed to be micro tags, but that's the starting point, and I will just use my scissors from here on in. I've also got this other stray bit of masterboard that I cut down at the beginning. I used the other tiny bit to make this. So stray bits of masterboard can be very useful for this project if you have them. Okay, so let's just take one of these, it doesn't really matter which, and I'm going to make a couple of little micro tags with it using some more scraps. First thing I'm going to do is I've got a lot of paper bag scrap that's sort of not big enough for putting across a large tag, and I want to use those scraps up wherever possible so that I can, you know, tidy up a little bit. So I'm going to probably collage some paper bag onto the back of this a little bit and flatten it down as best I can. It doesn't matter if it's not in one piece because the whole point of this is to use up scraps. So I don't care if it goes halfway and I have to put another piece over the top. I don't care. This is supposed to be a junk journal. And so it's going to be imperfect. So the question is, are we going to make 1 or 2 micro tags out of this? I think let's go for 2. Why not? Make the most of our masterboard. There we go. And they are supposed to be micro tags, so they're supposed to be a lot smaller than your standard tag. Okay. So all I did with the other one is I stamped a lady onto some, you know, brown paper and used that as my embellishment, as it were. And I like doing that, but that one was a second imprint. It's not as clear. I also did some lettering stamping as well behind that, and I think I'm going to do that again, but I think I'm going to do it in a different colour with a different part of my stamp. It's got lots of different letterings on it, so I think I'm going to use the brown. I'm going to use this kind of floaty, curly font for this one. Okay, just hopefully that's inked up okay, and then I'll just place that down. Just adds a bit more texture. I don't know why it's always this white bit that I miss. I always manage to miss the white bit. It's like, I don't know how. But there we go. You can just press it down on the stamp and get a little bit of texture going there. So that's a little bit of texture. And now I think I will create, because I am really keen to get rid of all this brown paper bag, I'm going to create a little stamp of some nature. I have some very cute, just little stamps. I think I'll just use a rose. Why not? Yeah, why not? And I will do it in black so that it shows up quite well. And I'm just going to put it straight onto the paper bag. And then I'm going to cut around that and add it. Yeah, could have got a better imprint at the top there. That's all right. That's that. And now just going to cut around this. I'll speed this up because I'm sure you've seen people cutting before. So I like that, but it does blend in a little bit more than I'd like. So I'm going to look for a scrap that's a different colour that will make it stand out a little bit more. Okay, after much rooting around, I found just a little bit of index paper that's been tea dyed, and I also inked the rose in pink ink. It wasn't distress ink, it was just normal ink pad ink. So I'm going to glue that down. Just like the way it looks. I don't want to overthink this, remember. This is supposed to be a nice, relaxing. What I might actually do, though, is just ink up the bit of index page. Let's just ink this up. I've managed to put I usually use different sides for different colours. I've managed to put the pink side in the brown. Clever girl that I am. No bother. Doesn't matter. Okay, yeah, we'll just put that there. I didn't want to go over it too much because I do want it to stand out from the background, which is quite brown in tone. Put that on there. And then we'll put remember this is just brown paper bag with a bit of pink ink on it. And the only thing I've got to be careful about is I don't tear it, because that would be a trademark move from me right now. Okay, I think that's really cute. What I haven't done is round the corners yet, so I'll just do that with my little tool. You don't have to do this, I just like the way it looks. And okay, the only thing we've got to do now is put some kind of topper on it. Now you can use just scraps. You can just, you know, glue some scraps to the top of it rather than put a hole in it, which I might do actually just for a bit of a change, and because I really am trying to use up my scraps. So you can just on the spot make a little cluster that you then, you know, use to top the tag. So I really like that, but what I also want is something like circular really in the middle. And I'm just wondering what's inside my my hole punch in terms of interesting little circles I could put on there. You see, sometimes you just find things that are just perfect, but they're just kind of supposed to be rubbish. But I think these will work really well to just kind of give a centre. Right, so let me glue this on and then I can show you close up. Okay, I actually have a a video on how to top tags, and I didn't come up with this whilst I was shooting that video. I'll link to. I did come up with this bit about the scraps, but I didn't think about emptying my hole punch to see what little circles were in there. So there's always surprises in this. That's what I love. You never know what you're going to think of as you're crafting. We'll just put a little bit of ink on there. And I'm not going to trim the corners off here, I don't think. You know, I could. Well, maybe I should. What do you think? We'll just trim a tiny little corner, nothing more than that. Just like a tiny little... There we go. Yeah, that does look better. Okay. So... you know, I'm going to just ink around the whole thing, pull it all together, and these are really cute. You can use them in tiny little envelopes. They don't take much pocketing, and they're kind of, you know, they're unique, and you've used all your scraps up. If only I'd used all my scraps up. So that's 2 little tags made from this method. I'm going to do one more and I'll show you another method. Okay, so this is the other half of the little strip that I cut before. In my scraps box, I've got things like this that I've cut off the top of envelopes, and I think I'm just going to use trim down one of these stamps and use that as my embellishment on this one. I want something that's fairly quick and simple. I remember I don't want to overthink these things. They're supposed to be fun. So let's keep going and just quickly select this embellishment. I do recommend trimming the tops of your envelopes as a junk journal if you don't already do it. It's a really good way of just getting some little embellishments without any fuss, really. They just have really cool, yeah, that's going to work quite well, I think. Maybe we'll go the other way though. Yeah, it's not wide enough to do it that way, obviously. So I'm just going to ink it up first. I think I do like it sitting better the other way, so we're going to do that. Yeah. And the devil will be in the detail, the last little finishing touches. I think what I am going to do, however, is I'm going to, I always remember to manage to decide this halfway through gluing something else. I am going to put some, look, now it's collecting everything. Oh, I'm such a mistress of this, I really am. I'm going to do some text inking on the back just to give it a bit more texture. Let's give this a go. I'm just going to press this down on here. In an attempt to get maximum coverage. Lovely. And now the embellishment that I pre-cut, it just has a bit more texture behind it. I really like that. And I don't mind if my stamp gets a bit grubby from the ink, that's fine. So that's where it is at the moment. But remember, it's when we do the finishing touches that it's all pulled together. So, yeah, this is fun. So I did buy this little trim with this project in mind because it's quite delicate. It's just a little wire with some little pom-poms on it. So I'm going to do something a bit weird, and it does look a bit weird, but I'm okay with it. I'm going to top with this funny little, I don't know what you call it, just trim, I guess. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to sort my corners out and ink all around and do some real finishing touches on this. So come on, come on. I know there's not much corner to get at, but you can do it. I think this stamp is proving a bit thick for going through. Maybe if it's not glued down enough, that's the problem. It's sort of creating a barrier for going into the corner of the corner punch. So we'll try again, this time with it glued down. Yeah, just about. It doesn't like it though. It's like, what are you doing? That's too thick. What are you thinking? I'm thinking I would like a really nice round corner at the bottom. Thank you. So then we'll do some inking. I'm going to remember to cut these off too late, as usual. Okay, that is quite cute there. And it's going to be really weird with this on, but I'm going to go for it anyway. I just fancy doing something a bit silly, just for the fun of it. Okay, I'm probably going to use my thread to attach this again. We'll see how it goes. Get it roughly in the middle. Lovely. And just push this through, she says, hoping that the pom-poms will just, yes, they will. That's lovely. Oh, I don't even need the thread. I can, the wire is so thin, I can just tie it. she said confidently. It does look like I can. Let's give it a go. It's really cute. I think the colour's kind of funny. Okay, I'm just gonna trim that off there. So that's been tied off. I feel like one more thing could go here, and I wouldn't normally say that, but because it's quite busy as it is, but I just feel like it could. So I'm maybe going to turn to my washi tape that's sitting here, just some scraps of washi tape, and have a look at those. This is from a sample card that I made to go away on holiday, and there's just a few scraps left on it. So I'm trying to use all kind of scraps for this project. Okay, I've done a little bit of work with this one. The red and the yellow was looking really weird together, but I wanted to use that trim. So I put the green in to kind of act as a bit of a bridge colour, because it kind of goes with yellow and it kind of goes with red. So I just thought I'll just, you know, put that in together. I did some inking and used some washi tape. It's unusual looking. I don't think it kind of fits in with the sort of standard junk journal themes, but I quite like it. So there we go, another micro tag. And you know, it's cool to make things that do look a little bit different from time to time. So there's a few. Oh, the lady's drunk. There's a few little micro tags, and they'll go really lovely in my journal. So I'm really excited about using those. Okay, the other type of micro tag will have to be a part 2 video, because I have spent so much time doing these things. These little micro tags, but I will be back with part 2 very soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.